Hello, welcome back to another fantasy football video. I hope everybody's doing fantastically well. I'm doing alright to myself, but I'll tell you what, I have just had a little bit of a mare. I filmed this whole video and then realised that this bad boy wasn't even plugged in. So that's all good. But we move, we go again, and we're here today with a little wildcard video ahead of game week 2. Now, potentially, your team hasn't done particularly well in the first game week, or you just see a couple of players and you're thinking, I like the look of those. Reece James looking good. Haaland looking especially good. Cancelo looking alright as well. Or you're just looking at effective ownership and going, oh damn, I need to sort myself out. Well, today we're going to be taking a look at a cheeky little wild card heading into game week 2. And yeah, let's get straight on into it. So, we've gone with a 4-3-3. Now, I was very tempted to go with a 5 at the back. It seems as though the sort of big at the back looks very, very strong this year. And I will discuss as the video goes on ways in which we can kind of manipulate the team. So, you could potentially go for the 5 at the back if you do want to. So, the first player that we have got in here is Robert Sanchez of Brighton. I would say that Mendy is maybe a little bit better. I was trying to kind of fiddle ways about that I can get him in, but couldn't quite fit him in. But Sanchez still looking like a pretty decent option, managing to pick himself up 4 points in that game against Manchester United. Although they conceded a goal, he made 5 saves and picked up a clean sheet. And picked up a bonus point. And, he was actually pretty close to keeping a clean sheet. If McAllister hadn't twatted the ball into his own net, I think he may well have done, and we would have picked up another save point. Came home with all 3 bonus points, but hey-ho, he didn't do that. But Sanchez still looking like a decent keeper and has decent fixtures, or a decent run of fixtures going forward anyway. So Sanchez, I'd be very comfortable with having him on my wildcard team. Then our defensive assets. Who have we got in the 4 at the back? We've gone for Trent, Cancelo, Saliba and James. All pretty popular picks. Well, at least Saliba is about 5% ownership. But if you sort of combine the Arsenal defensive assets ownership up, it is still something you definitely do want to be a part of, and Saliba is just the cheapest one there. So the first defender that we have got here, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, he was completely at fault for that Mitrovic goal that they conceded, or the first goal that Liverpool conceded in this Premier League season, but Trent was still looking pretty good going forward. At times during the match, he was even higher than Salah was. I remember a little ball he played through to Nunez, just over hitting it, so that Nunez unfortunately wasn't able to get through, but still looking very good from an attacking point of view. Liverpool weren't quite on the boil in that game, but this is their first game coming up against Crystal Palace at Anfield. I think they're going to be fired up for this one, and they could quite comfortably beat Crystal Palace. So nothing to panic about Trent so far. His ownership is still very high, so we lose out if you don't have him. And yeah, I think Trent, fine option to have there, is your first defender on the wild card. Then moving on into João Cancelo, player who's looking pretty decent in that West Ham United game. Manchester City, no surprise, coming out on top of the expected goals conceded, or at least at the bottom. They basically had the fewest expected goals conceded, only conceded 3 shots in the whole of the game against a West Ham side who, are pretty decent, or one of the better teams in the Premier League at least. It just shows how good Manchester City are defensively, and as I say, I was trying to potentially get another Manchester City defender in there, but couldn't quite make it work. But yeah, João Cancelo coming in at 7 million, looks very decent, picking up 7 points. Although he picked up a yellow card, still managing to get 2 bonus points, which sort of shows how effective he is on the pitch. And Reece James actually managed to do the same as well, and we'll come on to him in a minute. The third defender that we're taking a look at is Arsenal's Saliba. He was the highest rated player on the pitch against Crystal Palace on Friday night, and he definitely deserved that. Had a very stomping game. And Arsenal, you could argue, were actually a little bit lucky to not concede in that game. Eze having a very good chance, and everyone had a very good chance, but they did manage to keep the clean sheet and look very good for it going forward. Saliba picking up 2 bonus points. Although Arsenal scored 2 goals, is testament to how good of a performance that he did end up having, with only Zinchenko pipping him to the post, and Zinchenko managed to get an attacking return and a clean sheet, so there is absolutely no surprise there. Coming in at 4.5 million, I think he's going to get a price rise very, very imminently. Saliba looking like a cracking option going forward. And coming to our 4th defender, Reece James, big man at the back, absolutely bombing down that right hand side as per usual, getting 7 points, as I said, with Cancelo, getting the yellow card and still managing to pick up the 2 bonus points, pipping Chilwell to the spot. Even though Chilwell got an attacking return, is testament to how good of an option Reece James is. His ownership is starting to creep up as well, coming at 6 million. I definitely would be having him in my wildcard team. And Chelsea were only just behind Manchester United in terms of expected goals conceded, only conceding 4 shots against Everton. So yeah, Chelsea assets looking particularly good. And I was trying to get Mendy into this team, and we'll discuss later the potential to be able to do that. Then taking a look at our midfield assets, we've gone for Martinelli, Salah and Luis Diaz. Salah, not too much to say that other than just looks like a cracking option. I feel like that 8 million spot that Luis Diaz holds, you need to have that spot. It's just what player you go for. There's a lot of debate to be had there. And then Martinelli, the sort of cheaper option that we're going to take a look at now, coming in at 6.1 million, managing to pick himself up 8 points against Crystal Palace. It was interesting to see actually that goal. It seems as though that set piece was actually designed for him to get on the end of it. It was a floated ball to the back post where Zinchenko was left completely unmarked, headed it back across, fell to Martinelli, and Martinelli managed to kind of scramble his way into the goal. But every single goal counts, and he'll be very happy to pick up that goal. At 6.1 million, as I say, looks like a pretty good budget option, if you can call him that. But playing in the sort of top 6 sides with a fixture that Arsenal do have, he was sort of cutting in from that left wing, looking very dangerous going forward. So Martinelli is definitely one that I'd be having in this team to sort of free up funds elsewhere. Then the second midfielder, the main man himself, Mohamed Salah. No, yeah, it is just a must-own really. With the effective ownership that he does have coming into this game, he just looks very, very good. And yeah, I've not really got much more to say other than that. Really, just looks like a cracking option going forward. Managing to pick up 12 points, even though Liverpool didn't look at their best, is sort of testament to him. So yeah, Salah must have. I'll just sort of leave it at that. Then the final midfielder spot. Now this definitely a little bit more controversial. Luis Diaz. He was actually the lowest scoring out of all of the 8 million options. Maddison picking up 5 points. You know, Saka getting the 6 points, and Kulusevski absolutely smashing it on 13 points. Now, I was tempted to bring in Kulusevski. The slight thing that swayed me was the fixtures. Diaz and Liverpool's fixtures are just superior. This Crystal Palace game, he could easily go and haul Crystal Palace. Liverpool will be fired up after that draw that they'll probably see as a bit of a loss, to be honest, against Fulham. I'm expecting Luis Diaz to do well over the coming game weeks. He was actually quite unlucky not to score against Fulham, absolutely cannoning the ball off of the post. And so yeah, I think Luis Diaz looks like a pretty decent option going forward. Then who are we looking at in terms of the attackers? We've gone for Gabriel Jesus, Haaland, the big man himself, and then Mitrovic, the final man on the end, picking up a brace. Who saw that one coming? So the first man in attack is Gabriel Jesus. Now, we didn't manage to pick up any points against Crystal Palace. Just a 2-pointer for Jesus, but that's definitely not got me worried. He still looked very good on the ball and good going forward. He was creating chances literally by himself, for himself, and so I think he's going to look good going forward. Playing against a Leicester team that looked pretty flimsy at the back, have lost Kasper Schmeichel, which is a massive, massive loss for them. And so yeah, Gabriel Jesus looks like a decent option, especially with the effective ownership that he does have, still maintaining sort of 72, 73 ownership. I think he's probably one of the highest transferred out player this week, but just because of sheer ownership, I think you need to have him. Then coming on to the big main man himself, Erling Haaland, absolutely smashing it against West Ham, getting a 13-pointer. The interesting thing was he stepped up, he took the penalty, and he absolutely buried it. So I feel like that means he's sort of just definitely on penalties from now on. Manchester City have not been particularly good at penalties in the past. We didn't really know who their penalty taker was, but now he stepped up and absolutely banged that one in. There is no doubt that it's going to be Haaland. That just makes him an even better option going forward. Obviously, as you can see, his price has already been bumped up to 11.6 million. Everyone just getting rid of Kane. See you later. That party was over before it even began. And yeah, Haaland looking very good. Now, captaincy for this coming game week is an interesting one with, Salah and Haaland having very good fixtures and both hauling in the first game week. Now, for me, Salah does pip it. I think he has 180% effective ownership compared to about Haaland's 100%. So it just goes to Salah for me. And then you call me a little bit superstitious, but that game on the Monday evening, it's just always nice to kind of leave your captain till the end of the game week. But, it doesn't really have anything to do with it, but it's just quite nice to have. Then the final attacking option that we do have is Alexander Mitrovic having an absolutely barnstorming game in that Liverpool fixture, coming in at 6.6 million, already getting that bump up in price, getting himself a 13-pointer. He does look pretty decent as an option going forward. And what I do like about this team is there's only two players from there's only two players from outside the sort of quote-unquote big six with Mitrovic and Sanchez. Mitrovic also on penalties as well. It's just another bonus going forward, looking pretty dominant in the air as well. So this is how the team does line up. Now, as mentioned previously, I was going to discuss how you can sort of get a sort of better defense if you wanted to. If you want to, you can drop Mitrovic down to a 4.5 million attacker. That would free up funds for you to either go for the likes of Koulibaly or Ruben Diaz. Get yourself a Mendy in net. You could even go Koulibaly, Mendy and Reece James. Get the triple up in Chelsea defence. Doesn't sound too bad. You're looking for players who are going to be consistent up until we get that 3-second wild card for the World Cup. And Ruben Diaz and Koulibaly, to me, strike me as players that will be reasonably consistent. The team coming in at 99.8 million because the likes of Mitrovic, Haaland and Martinelli have gone up in price. And I am assuming that, you don't own necessarily all three of them and didn't manage to catch all of their price rises. If you did, then simple move up from Sanchez to Mendy would be the one. Now, quickly, just to mention for the bench, I'd be going for Patterson as my first sort of 4 million bench defender. With Conor Coney now joining from Everton, he's looking like a pretty decent option at the back. Go for Andreas Pereira from Fulham. Looks pretty good going forward for 4.5 million. As a number 10, I just don't think you could get too much better than that. Then for the final 4.5 million midfielder, I'd go for probably De Silva from Brentford. Came on and scored a lovely goal against Leicester, so we can probably expect him to get a bit more time. Then in net, I'd go for Danny Ward from Leicester. Now, could have Everton come in because, Leicester, they conceded 2 reasonably cheap goals against Brentford. Could he come in and be given his chance? That could well be the case. However, Danny Ward was the one who played the full 90 minutes against Brentford. So off that information, I'd be choosing him as my 4 million goalkeeper. But yeah, this is how the team does line up. I'd say, personally, I would quite like that team, to be honest, going into this coming game week. But yeah, if you have enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit that like button. Hit the subscribe if you're new around here, and well, I'll catch you in the next one. See ya.